your hands together for the speakers and for yourself for taking out time to come out this morning. We're just going to go into the session at the moment. We're going to be asking questions, and I think we have 30 minutes, and then we have 1 hour, and then we have, we're going to do it like this, 30 minutes for them to share their story, and then another 30 minutes for the Q&A. Is that okay? Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead now. Okay. Folusho has already shared her story, so we'll start with Eno. Okay. So Eno, I would like to know, and I'm sure a lot of people would like to know, what were the challenges you experienced when you started your purpose journey? Your business journey, your purpose, what were the challenges that you experienced? Because a lot of people in Nigeria, I mean, we know the things that we go through here. We know the challenges of running a business, being an entrepreneur. Can you please share with them what challenges you had and how you were able to overcome them?
Okay, this is for 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think everyone has 3 questions each. So I think 1 question, 2-3 minutes. So we can actually share 10 minutes for each person. Everybody has 10 minutes, but the 10 minutes will be divided. Yes.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, a bit about what I do. I'm into the vehicle tracking and fleet management line of business. So what I say is, we would install a device in your car, and no matter where that car is, we will find it. That was the business. That's my purpose that I found, and I have done that for 12 years. Now, when I started, one major challenge that I had was, I'm telling you, we will put a device in your car. When that vehicle is stolen, we will recover it. The very first theft, the very first incident of theft that we had, we did not recover that vehicle.
Wow.
Now, this is promise given to you, promise unkept, or promise not kept, you know. And sadly, it happened to be car owned by a very, very close friend of mine, you know. So it totally fractured our relationship, you know. And I couldn't really tell why that was. We had the second case of theft. We also did not recover that. Now, those were 2 major challenges that were, I would say, enough. Many people would say those 2 challenges were enough for them to not go into the business anymore. After all, I've made a promise to you, and I'm unable to keep that promise that I have made. But you know, it wasn't that for me. I didn't feel that way at all. It was a challenge, and I was ready to face it head on. So what did I do? I went back to the drawing board of my purpose. How this is a service I'm providing. What am I supposed to do? You know, I dotted all my I's, I crossed all my T's, I put my best foot forward. We had a 3rd incident of stolen vehicle, and this time around, I went all out by myself with the special anti-robbery, with my bulletproof jacket, everything,
wow.
And we recovered that vehicle.
Wow,
so that was
amazing.
a challenge that we were able to
overcome.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Adaora the same question, because I know being creative in this environment, a lot of people do not really respect creative people. I mean, am I right? Because sometimes they just feel it's so easy to come up with ideas. It's so easy, and then they just want to pick your brain, you know, call you for 2 hours for free, and you know, you go like, I'm very creative. I mean, people should pay me for this 1 hour session, just like coaches as well go through the same challenges. So I just want Adaora to share her own challenges in this particular industry that she has found herself. How was she able to overcome the challenges challenges of people taking advantage of her gifts, and also being able to earn a living from your talent?
Okay, hi everyone, good morning. Thank you for making out here. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here. That's from Jay-Z, but I'm just using it. Okay, so real quick, I think for me, one of the biggest challenges I had is basically just understanding that my purpose is such that a lot of times I'm shining my light on other people, which means that a lot of times I'm behind the scenes of a lot of the brands and the individuals who are doing really amazing work. And what that came with was actually more a challenge of understanding that it is important to put my ego on the back burner and prioritize my purpose. Understand that I exist for other people to be able to do the things that they need to do. And that was my purpose, and that is my purpose. And so being comfortable with that and knowing that it's not about you, but it is you, you know, was something that has always been a part of my journey. So, you know, you're talking to people, you're saying, you know, I do work for this person, I do work for that person, I'm helping this person build their brand, I'm helping this company build their brand as well. And of course, the natural thing for people to say to you is, but why don't you do it for yourself?
Exactly.
Right? You're
True.
doing it for everybody. You need to do it for yourself. And so for me, the longest while, I think I spent a lot of time just like battling my thoughts where God was telling me one thing, this is what you need to do, and this is what you were created for, this is what I was enjoying doing, and then having that balance between doing that and being able to still do the things that would project myself to some extent. But I realized that the projection of self came as a result of the work that I was doing for other people anyway.
Wow.
So it still came at the end of the day, and I think that, for me, that was a challenge. It was battle with ego. That's really what it was. And just knowing when to bench that.
And it is common saying, even if you were trying to hide yourself, they said the goldfish has no hiding place. People will still find out who is the brain behind this brand. Because I've actually visited your page on Instagram. I'm so inspired by your creativity. I used to think that I do so many things, but when I came to be like, okay, yes, at least someone like me, and even much better than me, so you're doing so well. And I can imagine the way you felt, promising a customer or a client that we're going to deliver on this, and then the next thing, this happens, so it's not an easy experience for any business owner to go through. The next person I'm going to be asking a question is Folusho. We know the politics when it comes to working in an organization. We know the challenges women go through, juggling their family, juggling their career, going to work and all of that. Can you just share with us how you've been able to manage the politics, number one? Number two, how you've been able to juggle family and being able to just make sure that everything is going on well the way it's supposed to be.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Okay, so politics in the workplace.
Yeah, politics in the workplace.
I think, I've got so many examples of politics in the workplace, but I think for me, the summary of handling that is going back to what Adaora just said, which is ego. I think for a lot of people, the reason why it's difficult to handle the politics in the workplace is because we all have ego. So you get to a new organization as an example, and you just look at the lay of the land, and the lay of the land is not okay. Everything is just like, what are those things that blow up on the army field? Like mines are everywhere, waiting to just take you, take you out or take you down. What I've done in those situations, honestly, the first thing I do is pray. I'm a praying person. Because I'm like, I need to understand what is happening in this organization. Yeah. And I also realize that if you can just step your ego down a notch or two and talk to people, you actually discover that a lot of the politics, there's history. So it's either somebody's personality is funny, as in maybe they feel like, I've been here for 50 years, you're in JJC, or they feel like, oh, I'm so experienced, I've worked here, or, oh, I just came back from abroad, I have fune. All those little silly things that just irritate us. But if you can actually talk to the people behind the scenes, so I tell people all the time at work, nobody's that crazy. People are crazy, yes, but there's a level of craziness. I am the person that I will start buying gifts.
Exactly.
I'll take you out to lunch. I'll be like, I need to understand who the principality in this place is.
Exactly.
No, and I need to break it down. You have to understand.
Yes.
If you want to be in the corporate world, I told somebody last week, a friend of mine was getting sexually harassed at work. Very unfortunate story. And I was explaining to her that every industry has principalities that are ruling it. Banking, whatever it is. And so you have to understand that you can't just go to work every day like, oh, life is great, life is great. But you also have to see beyond what you see. You have to be discerning. You have to understand that sometimes the people in your workplace that are acting a certain way, there's many reasons why they are. First of all, maybe they're a principality indeed. Second of all, maybe they have issues that they are battling. I've spoken to people that when you now see all their life drama, you're like, oh, wow, is that why you are acting like this? So I think it's coming from a place of you stepping down from your own ego, stepping down from being upset at people all the time, why are they treating me this way, and really seeking to understand before being understood. Yeah. That's for the workplace politics. For the work-life balance, that question always comes up at women's conferences.
I know.
I think I'm still a work in progress, but I have support systems. So I'm all about support systems. I'm the person that honestly uses anybody and anything that is available to support me at the time. So my mother-in-law, I love them, I take very good care of them, and they are available for me when I'm harassing them. My nannies, I treat my nannies like they're my children because I realize that they help me achieve my purpose. Without my nannies, I'll be in trouble. I have an 8-year-old and I have a nanny that has been with me for 8 years since I had her. She's my child. She's a grandmother, but she's my child. The way I treat her, are you okay? You have headache, take Panadol, what's going to hospital? Like, I feel like if we make them part of our family, yes, there are some odd ones amongst them.
Yes, there's some bad ones.
But I think that with nannies especially, and especially if you know that you need them for your support, you just have to understand that you have to treat them like they're part of your family. A lot of them are not treated well. That's the truth. They are treated as though they are not part of your family. And so they feel like, what's there? I can treat your child anyhow. So I think it's really in the why. Why do you have a nanny? So that you can do the things that you want to do. Because you're a Nigerian woman, and nobody is going to allow you to do the things that you want to do without taking care of your children. They will abuse you, right? So you need to make sure that your why is being pursued, and you're focused on that. So that even when they are annoying you, you know how to manage them. My mom annoys me sometimes, my mom, all of them. But it's all about, you know what, at the end of the day, the things that you are doing that are irritating are not as much as the value that you bring. I'll give you a really quick example, sorry. My mother-in-law loves to watch Z World. I hate Z World, and I don't want my children to watch Z World. No. But my mother-in-law is amazing. She's a blessing. She's like a dream. Wow. So one day I asked myself, in front of the mirror, I said, Folusho, between Z World and the sanity that she brings, pick one.
So I picked
one and I walked away.
Z World to the rescue. The reason why I ask those questions is because a lot of people are here. Working in purpose means that you have to know and understand how to relate to people. There will be challenges in the workplace, in your family life. There will be challenges even with your workers at home. So that's why I ask this question, because the theme for the event is about purpose, and we already know. So for you to work in purpose, you don't just wake up and say, okay, I want to work in purpose. There are other things that surround your purpose that you need to understand, and you need to be able to overcome them. So the next question I'm going to be asking is, Eno, can you share with us what extra things did you do? Like, some people everybody, they admire people at the top, they admire people's businesses, but they don't really know the sacrifices. People just admire the glory, but they don't know the story. What extra sacrifices did you make to be like, okay, this is what I had to do. I had to deprive myself of this and that for my business to grow to this certain level. So a lot of people are here who are business owners who want to learn and say, is there anything I'm not doing right? I'm selling hair, I'm selling this, and this business has not grown to this level at this time. So is there anything that you can share with them that, okay, this is the discipline you need to apply. If your business is going to thrive, you need a mentor, or you need to save this and save that. I just wanted to share with them the extra sacrifices we're able to make to grow your business.
Right.
Thank you.
That's a good question. Because in my field, I'm the only female.
Wow. Put your hands together, please. It's not easy. Please.
There are over 100 licensed vehicle tracking industry. So that's a woman amongst over 100 men. So because I didn't want the tag, I realized that I had to understand my skill, understand the trade, understand the business very well. It's not enough for you to say, I make hair. Do you really know how to do it? If somebody comes in and says, I want it all back, or I want you to cut some part of my hair, do you know how to do that, So for me, I spent more time trying to understand the skill. I remember way back when I started, I hardly used to sleep, My mom would come into the room and would have to force me to sleep. Why? Because I spent time trying to understand the working of the device, trying to understand the technology of the device. So for me, spending more time understanding your trade and trying to be ahead in the field, because our slogan is the preferred vehicle tracking company. If anybody says I want tracking, I want everybody to be able to think Ray Track, So it's been a lot of work. I also remember the network, the internet network services, when there were times that there wouldn't be internet service in my office, and I would have to take my laptop and sit on the balcony of the office, People come in and they see the glory and they don't understand that part. It was really, really challenging. There were times during the installation, they are done by male installers. I would go from one location to the other, sitting under the sun, under the rain with the installers, trying to ensure that they do the installation, Now I probably will sit pretty in the office, but I believe that I have paid my dues, So those times, those times where the behind the scenes, let me put it that way, So it's a lot of work. So for me, understanding your trade, focusing on it so that you can stay ahead.
That's true. Amazing. Yes, I think so. Because I learned also from one of my mentors, she said, do not be surface. Because when you're surface, you attract mediocrity. So if you're not very deep in anything that you're doing now, you're not going to be respected. You're not going to be called upon anywhere to show your talent. So do not be a surface person. I know there's a lot of distraction now in this generation, so much social media, too many things happening. And I also learned that we, the young people now, just want to read everything on Instagram like quickly. Everybody, like Folusho is not going to download everything she's known all her life on Instagram, because it's not going to be easy for you to start typing all the things you've learned from all the business books. So people need to spend time, buy the books and read it, and that's the only way they can really grow.
Let me also add to that. You know, when going into business or maybe life generally, there are steps. Everything is step. You go from the first step to the second step. You crawl before you walk, you know. But I realized that what a lot of people do now is they see a Folusho on Instagram and looking all perfect and business going well and everything going well, forgetting that she's gone from step one to step two to step three. So you can't go from step 1 to step 10. It's just not possible. You will crash, and when you crash, you will crash so mightily, you know. So we need to follow the ladder and go from one step.
It's a process. Yeah, she's singing. She said, even is following the ladder. There's a song like that. I'm going to be speaking to Adaora. Adaora, I like it. A lot of people here are also creative people like you. And even if you're not creative, when it comes to purpose, everyone goes through the same challenges. Maybe it's another industry. It's still the same thing, you know. Stepping out, being able to be yourself, being able to accept who you are, and being able to diversify. There are a lot of people who have multiple talents. How have you been able to manage those multiple talents? Because I struggled with that as well. So please, people are here who have interest for 5 businesses, and they're really very good at those 5 businesses. They want to know, how have you been able to manage your talent effectively? Thank you.
Good question.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think, you know, for me, first of all, is making sure that a lot of times it seems like I'm doing so many different things, but really it's the same thing.
Yeah.
There's an underlying purpose, and then all these other things are like my mediums of expression. And one of the things that it has been very, very vital in on my purpose journey is, one, upskilling.
Adaora.
Right? So a lot of people think about purpose in isolation of the work that you actually have to put in to actualize that purpose. So purpose is one thing, finding it's great, accepting it's great. But then you have to put work. So last night, for instance, I was rebuilding my website. Right?
Wow.
I do a lot of stuff myself. I have teams, I have people who work on stuff, but I have taken time to learn certain skills, because no creative is going to put me under pressure or they will not be answering their phone. You're not going to do that to me, because I've learned pretty much everything that I kind of need to learn for where I'm going, right? The basics, at least. So I think that, you know, it's important to not tell yourself that, oh, I'm just a hair person, so I'm just going to be a hair person. You know, you tell yourself, I'm not really a finance person, but you're trying to run a hair business. Go and learn the finance of it. You know, you have to learn. You just have to, you know, and I think that that's very important, because that's really what has helped me. And then the second thing really is discipline. You know, your time is currency, right? And when I think about my time, I don't even think about my time in terms of the clock. I think of my time in terms of my energy, right? Where am I using my energy? When do I need to conserve my energy? And how do I want to manage that energy? Because at the end of the day, you can do 20 events. I can show up to 20 events if I wanted to, but the question is, will I show up fully? Will I take my right energy to that event? Or if I was gonna take a meeting, for instance, am I bringing my energy to that meeting? If not, I'm not taking that meeting. It's not important, right? And so I think that discipline to be able to control your time, what you want, how you want things to play out, and being able to say no to whatever is not in alignment with your purpose, right, and with the things that you're trying to do. So my multipotentiality is really just an expression of one thing in different ways, right, that I do it. And yeah, that's pretty much been my journey with regards to that.
Okay, sorry, I got distracted.
No worries.
I wanted to ask another question for Adaora as well. I want you to talk about your book.
About my book?
Yes, your new book, because
okay.
It's the same with the theme for this event.
Okay. So my book is called This Thing Called Purpose. And to be honest, thank you so much. To be honest, that book, I know when Folusho was talking earlier, she said this is not a spirits event, too, so let's not, but me, I'll go there. Because really, the book,
Exactly.
the book was pretty much my job was to download it. I think that, it was definitely given to me as a gift from God to gift that to other people. And one of the things that sort of is different in this book in comparison to a lot of the books I had read was I felt like every time I would read books about purpose, like they would talk about like purpose in the same way. Your purpose is your why, is your why, is your why. And in my journey, my purpose has not just been my why. That's the reality. My purpose has really hinged on the who, because I believe that purpose is really about people. It's not just about your why. It's not just about why you're doing this.
Yeah.
It's actually about who's going to benefit as a result of your existence on this earth.
Yeah,
so I wanted to really delve into, understanding, first of all, the programming. Because, now the word everywhere is unlearn. Everybody's like, unlearn. But do you really understand what it means to unlearn? Because unlearn really puts you in uncomfortable situations. It's not just unlearning things on the surface. It's understanding that you're programmed a certain way because of your environment, because of your culture, because of your family, because of the things around you. And that the moment you start to actually unlearn things and see things in a different light, and I mean, that leads you to self-awareness, leads you to consciousness, leads you to, leaving your ego behind and all of that stuff. What happens is that it takes you out of your comfort zone, because when you start to have conversations with people, you will get bashed. You will get people who don't really understand what you're saying, especially in this, like, I can have conversations outside of Nigeria a lot of times that are normal conversations. I bring it back to Nigeria and I have to almost tone it down a notch. And I'm sure a lot of people here experience it. But being able to be brave and bold enough to know that that is your mission, right? And that even as you do this, you will not always be passionate about your purpose. That's the truth. Like, I'm always thrust into situations where, because of my background in economics and entrepreneurship, that's why I studied at university, right? I have skill sets that most creative people don't have. A lot of creative people tend to be like one-sided. Oh, I'm a creative. I'm not a structure person. I'm a structure person that is also a creative. And what happens with that is that when I'm in a project, when I'm thrust into any project, I'm automatically moved to the structure. And that's not what I want to do, right? Because I want to be the creative. So a lot of times I'm like, why do I have to get a paperwork? Why do I have to be the one doing project management on this? I'm not passionate about project management, but I have to do it for what it is that I'm trying to accomplish and what it is that my purpose is about. So please, don't think that your purpose is, I must be passionate. If I wake up, I must feel like it is there.
Every day.
It's not always going to be there every day.
Amazing.
You're not always going to be passionate.
Amazing. I like that she added project management, having structure, because she's multi-talented. If she doesn't have structure, she will not be able to really organize everything. Like today, I have 3 video shoots going on for one of my other companies. I have my daughter without a nanny. I have my housekeeper is there working. So if without all these people knowing what to do, who to call, I won't be sitting down here. I will not be able to come in. So we need structure as women. And even if we don't know about it, we need to learn about it. We need to ask questions. How can I do it? It involves around people, relationship, being able to manage your support. Like Folusho said earlier, that we need to make sure that we take care of our support system so that they're able to support us effectively. Thank you so much, Adaora. So we're moving on to the next question for Folusho. Are they... some people are here, and there's also an advantage when you have good education. Is there any advice you want to give to any young person, or even myself, when it comes to getting good education in achieving your purpose? I mean, is there any way education has actually helped you? I mean, some people are here that would like to learn and ask questions, because some of them are like, okay, I know that I want to get to this level. I want to grow in my career. Do I need to go back to school? If now I don't have the certifications. Is there any affordable education that you know about in Africa or Nigeria where they can get masters, or maybe they can get their first degree? Because a lot of people have this dream, but they don't have the funding. So maybe you might know places where they can get affordable education. Yes.
Okay, so I think that this generation is very blessed, because when I was in school, I'm not that old, pretty young in my mind, but when I was in school, the internet did not exist to the level that it does now.
Yeah.
The amount of free courses online. Do you know, sometimes I'm like, it is actually like, sometimes it makes me just like feel weird. Like, is it really possible that there's this much information out there? I think that in every financial situation, in every season, every level of your life, that there is something for you out there. But the question is, who are you? Let me use following as an example.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of resources online. There's a lot of resources, even on Instagram. I found so many resources on Instagram that people tell me that, oh, Instagram is annoying because all they see is this. I'm like, it's because of who you are following. I don't follow people that give me headache. If you start giving me headache, I won't follow you because it's not by force.
Exactly.
You understand? I just press the button.
Yes.
But the point is, there's a lot of free resources. There's a lot of free conferences. There's a lot of organizations that are actually even giving scholarships. So I realize that there's so many things that are available, but you just have to search online. You need to do the work. There's websites like udemy.com, udemy.com, there's Coursera, there's a whole bunch of other ones. If you want to take a course and you Google it, you will likely find a whole bunch of stuff that comes up. Even if there's a free sometimes, they're actually quite small. So once again, I'll use myself as an example. I like how Adaora said that you don't have to be passionate about all the things that have to do with your purpose. So I am in career, I'm a career path person, I'm a technology person by profession. I studied everything IT. I hate finance. I like maths, but I really dislike. I've always hated accounting. It's just so boring. Why so dry? So because I didn't like it, I didn't learn it. I didn't do it. I once had a training that was paid for me. I found a way to not attend. I think now that I must not have been well when I did that, because last year when I realized that I was shooting myself in the foot, I had to pay for a finance course because I sit on the board of companies. Sometimes they bring documents. Let me not lie. I don't understand what they are saying, and I said to myself, but. Are you bright? As in, I don't understand. Like, how can you say that because you don't like something, you won't learn it when you know that it's going to hinder your progress? Do you understand? Or stop you from being all that you can be. So I think that it's so important that it's beyond the things that you like. It's beyond even the ways that you like to learn. So I hear people saying, oh, I only like classroom training. If you can't afford classroom training, please do online training.
Exactly.
Do you understand? Just do whatever it is that you need to do. I personally have had many experiences where I've had to pay for a course to upskill myself. My company wouldn't pay for it, and I knew that if I did not have that skill, I'll be in trouble. So please look online, Google it. Yesterday, I was looking for courses on how to be a good trainer, because I realized now that people are asking me to come and train. I found a free course online, and I was like, it's free?
Yeah.
I almost felt spooked. I said, can it be real? You know, so I'm just saying, just Google, do your research, ask questions, and you'll find a lot more on the internet than you can ever imagine.
Thank you very much. And I also heard about the Nextford University. I know you've heard about Nextford University. So, and I know it's affordable MBA. Even if you've done MBA in the past, you can still check them out and know how much it costs.
Sorry, I want to please, if you want to get an MBA or a master's, I think it's very important that you ask yourself why you're doing it. Because I also realize that a lot of us want to get MBAs and things because we heard that those that we like have MBAs.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that do not have a master's degree and they are running amazing companies.
Yeah.
So you can upskill without an MBA.
Without an MBA.
You can do other trainings. A lot of people
Exactly.
go to Harvard Business School. They will say Harvard alumni. It's a lie. They did one course in Harvard. They're calling themselves Harvard alumni. I'm just saying, like, you can take a course without getting the master's. If you cannot afford it right now, you can actually do other courses as well.
That's fantastic.
Sorry, can I just speak to that? Also, on Folusho. Folusho talked a lot about free resources, but I guarantee you Folusho also does invest in some stuff. She does both. And this is very important, please. So next year, if Yvonne says that you should pay for this event, you need to actually invest in yourself. This is the reality. You have to invest in yourself. Because you see, if you can spend money to buy hair, you can spend money to buy bags, you can spend money to buy shoes, you can buy Tagano juice every week. I'm sorry, you have to be able to, you have to be able to actually invest in yourself, because I find this with a lot of young people. I mean, everybody wants to get, but nobody wants to actually like invest in themselves, you know. And if you don't do that, you're not going to do anything great. You have to spend money to make money. That's the reality of life. It's a law. It's a universal law. It is principle.
It is. We must be ready to give back. I also wanted to ask Adaora, where can people get your book? Is it online or is it here?
So you can actually get it on Roving Heights. It's available on there. It's available on, well, you're in Nigeria, so you don't need Amazon. It's also available on Okada Books. So if you wanted to download the e-copy there. E-book is on Okada Books, and the main book is on Roving Heights. And they deliver anywhere, so.
Fantastic. I want to ask another question to Eno. Eno, business in Nigeria is not a joke. And everybody just said, How will you discipline to not eat your money? Like, you know, you make money, you see the money in your account, you're not using to buy your hair, you're not tempted to travel to Dubai immediately. How were you able to, like, you know, keep the money to grow the business? Were you putting everything back into the business, or were you taking out something every month or for every payment? You know, so people want to learn, so they're able to also.
I believe in delayed gratification, but for me, I got into business. When I started, I used to imagine myself do presentations. I used to imagine what my office would look like. I mean, the power of the mind, you know. I used to have all those imaginations. So I wasn't imagining wearing nice clothes and traveling to Dubai. No, that wasn't my priority then. I just wanted to be successful. I was hungry for success. Okay, I grew up, my father is a journalist, you know, so we grew up having to watch the network news and having to read newspapers. Those two were very compulsory. I liked how every time I read papers, I read about people, especially women, even at that young age. So I used to say to myself, when I grow up, I want people to read about me as well, you know. So those were the things that I had my mind on, not on clothes. And thankfully then there wasn't social media to distract us, you know. So those were the things I had my mind on. And even now, I mean, I still go on with the delayed gratification. My business is my priority. It's my baby. It's 12. You know, when you nurture something from ground, from the beginning, you know. So I greatly believe in delayed gratification. And like I said earlier, following the ladder. It is step by step.
Fantastic. Fantastic, amazing. So you have a personal account and you have
yes, personal account, company account. I have a structure. I have we have offices.
Okay.
We operate nationwide. We have different
fantastic.
offices, so it's a structure. So it's not such that I would run into a track account. You know, everybody's paid a salary, including myself.
So we've taken something home, having structure and making sure that your money, you have different account for different expenditure, right? So we're going to go into Q&A. I would like to find out if you have questions for the speakers. And we have the ushers. If you have questions, you can just write. You don't have to put your name. Just write the question on the paper. Okay, we have 2 questions here. I'm going to go ahead. Most people think purpose is about entrepreneurship. Can you talk about finding purpose in your career? So who do you want to answer? Any of them, all 3 of them? So maybe we'll start with Folusho.
I can answer that.
Okay.
No, purpose is not about entrepreneurship. In fact, like Adaora said, purpose is largely not even about you. Sometimes when you are deep in your purpose, you can even feel like God is even using yourself, because you're like, this assignments that you set me on, it's not even about me at all. It's really about you. That's the truth. Purpose in career for me is honestly understanding that. So, okay, let me use myself as an example. So, at my current job, I'm in charge of our business processes and technology. A lot of what I do in the office is beyond that. You know, that is so on my scorecard, you know, I have deliverables based on that. But everything I'm passionate about women, I'm passionate about leadership. I will not see like a young woman in the office that looks lost and not be like, oh, see me in my office tomorrow. Let's just have a chat. You know, I feel like you just have to understand that it's beyond just your profession. So your profession gets you in the door. Your skills get you in the door. Your business gets you in the door. But what God wants you in that place for is way more than your profession. So it's way more than me being a technology person. Yes, that's my job. But for me, I'm bringing light into that organization in every single way.
Yes.
And that can come through mentorship. That can come through, you know, giving somebody advice that needs it. That might even come through on a random day, giving somebody a hug that looks like they are down and out. It's more than your 9 to 5. You have to see yourself almost as so in career, see yourself as like the CEO of your own life, right? And while you're on your job, you are doing your deliverables, you are doing all that. But you don't just see it as just that. You are CEO, so it's a whole organization that is you. There's so much more to you than just delivering on that job. Any opportunity that you see to help or bless somebody in any way that is your own passion, you just have to do it.
And that's purpose. Yeah. Fantastic. I'd like to hear from Eno as well. The same question. Maybe she might need different views. That's okay, it's fine.
Okay. Having purpose.
Yeah. The question is, most people think purpose is about entrepreneurship. Can you talk about finding purpose in your career? Can you talk about it in your business?
Well, I think life generally, everybody was born for a reason, you know, and being able to find what that reason is early is important, you know. It could be through a life experience. For me, it was a life experience. I went to visit someone and armed robbers came there and a vehicle was stolen, and I thought, how do you spend so much money and someone just takes your car like that, you know? And that led me to my purpose or one of the purposes I have here. So sometimes it could just be through a life experience, and when these things happen, we need to look for the why in those things or the aha moments, so.
Okay, thank you.
So I just want to speak to that as well. Thanks. You didn't ask me, but you know how you see all those memes that say, "Asked nobody, said nobody ever." Yes, that's it. Yeah, I think you guys wanted to hear from me, but it says, "Said nobody ever." Okay. So the thing is, so first of all, I would say like entrepreneurship being equivalent to business is actually a myth. There are people who run businesses that are not entrepreneurs, right? Entrepreneurship is actually a mindset. It's a mindset. It's your ability to problem solve, your ability to think about how to solve problems. And you can do that within your organization, right? And that's where it now translates to what we call entrepreneurship, right? So like Folusho rightly said, it's like identifying within the organization that you work in, how can you solve problems? Because when I hear people talk about like, 9 to 5, I'm like, hey, go and run a business. You're not working 9 to 5, you're working 24/7.
True.
Right? So a lot of times you need to see it from that perspective, of like, okay, how can I contribute where I am with what I have? And then how can I make sure that, ultimately I'm fulfilling purpose where I am? And sometimes I know that, sometimes we think that being a mom or something like that is not like a sufficient purpose, but it really can be.
Yes.
Some people actually, their purpose in life is to nurture. And that's really what they are built for. And it's not just to nurture their kids, but to nurture their kids, their friends' kids, their siblings' kids, and that's just what it is, right? So if don't just be comfortable with whatever it is that you find that you're aligned with, and ambition is different from purpose, right? So purpose is you can find purpose in being a sister, really, but ambition is a little bit, a
That's
different
true.
story.
Be comfortable in what you find interesting. Because I know that a lot of people are not comfortable. Like I knew when I got certified as a life coach, I knew as a coach you can do so many things. You can coach people with different issues. Yvonne is also a life coach. But, accepting the niche that I was very good at was very tough for me because I felt I'm not ready to share this part of my life. I'm not ready to be in front of people. And even when I had a coaching session with a sales coach, and he told me, Emem, you have a lot of structure in place. Why don't you share it with people? I said, I don't want to share it for my own family alone, for myself. I don't want people to know how I live, how I'm doing this and doing that. He said, no, people will need this, and people might pay for this. And I went back home unhappy because I went to meet him for sales on how to sell the trainings that I was offering, the solutions I was offering to organizations. He said, Emem, that is okay. It is there, but you have structure, sales structure. And that's what gave birth to my book as well. And look at now, something I was actually ashamed of or shy about is what I actually, finally now wrote a book about. So I think you should be comfortable in who you are, be comfortable in what God has called you to do, be comfortable in the things that you find interesting, and then develop yourself. So the next question here is, there are a lot of questions, I don't even know where to start from, but I'm going to just read them. Someone said, does luck come into play when talking about success? This is about success. Does luck, I don't know.
I don't believe in luck. I believe in hard work and God's favor, so I don't believe in luck.
Yeah, exactly. So you've heard that. You've answered your question. Yeah, it's very simple, very simple. This one is for Folusho. Say, how do you deal with a boss who doesn't like you? Who doesn't like you? I think it's you, yes. How do you deal with a boss who doesn't like you? Folusho, is for you.
Okay, I need a bit more context to that question. So the owner of the question can talk to me after.
Yeah,
that's very vague. Like, doesn't like you. What does that mean? Are they frustrating you? Are they not letting you do your job? Like, I need a bit more.
So she needs more information to be able to answer the question
appropriately
correctly.
Yeah.
So maybe the person can see her after the event, please. So we're moving on to another question. Someone said, what positive habits have helped you walk in your purpose?
Okay, I'll start. For me, I said it before, reading has been a huge enabler for me in working in my purpose because I've just learned so much from reading. I think also just discipline. So I remember there was a time, so in my family, we used to joke about who slept the longest. We love to sleep, the children. I was one of the chiefs in the department of sleep. In fact, we used to, those days, long, long gone. And you know, it's so interesting because now I'm like, how could you sleep so, like, you don't be sleeping for like 12 hours. Why? You know, so another huge thing that I've learned is just the discipline of waking up on time. Now, this is not for everybody, but for me, my own life, being the octopus that I am and my lifestyle, I have had to learn to wake up early. It was really difficult. It was one of those periods in my life where I felt like it's not possible because I was never an early riser. Even in university, I remember I would pick classes that started after 9 o'clock because I love to sleep. And then I started having children and I started, you know, doing all this stuff and I was like, you can't get the number of hours in a day back ever. You can't just be sleeping. You have to wake up on time. So the biggest thing for me, I would say, is the discipline of waking up on time, which took a lot of time, but I'm finally in that zone, hallelujah.
Yeah,
We've
hallelujah.
broken off from the family sleeping problem and reading. Those would be my two.
Amazing. Sleeping,
big ones.
she said reading and waking up early. The discipline to wake up early. So you had that then, and I was going to share her own habits.
Sorry, let me quickly add something. I'm so sorry. You also have to discipline yourself of social media, and by that I mean even WhatsApp. So there are times in my day where I put my phone on airplane mode. I put a post on Instagram the other day, and my husband sent me a comment and said, when do you do this? And I eyed him from the corner of my eye. He was throwing shade at me. But I actually do, you know, I put my phone in airplane mode when I'm at work sometimes because I realize that WhatsApp can be awesome, but WhatsApp can also be a nasty distraction. I'm working, I'm in my zone, I look at my phone, and somebody's urgent matter becomes my urgent matter when I can attend to it later, and I'm suddenly engrossed in a different world. You know, so I think you need to learn how to shut it off.
Social media.
Put it on airplane mode so that if they are calling you, if you are a mom or something, and they need to call you for school runs or whatever, they can still reach you. But put it in airplane mode so that you don't have data for Instagram and WhatsApp.
Fantastic. Amazing.
Okay, I'll say speaking positively.
Okay.
I've had to learn that.
Wow.
A life issue led me to that, you know. I realized that there is so much power in my mouth. There's so much power in the things that I say.
Yes.
There is so much power in my mind.
Yes.
So if I want something, I speak it. I say, that's how I pray actually. I don't do like the regular prayer. I just say, today is a great day. I am blessed. I'm going out. The favor of God surrounds me as with a
Yes.
shield. I'm going to this meeting. From the moment I walk
Exactly.
into the gate, I will find favor. That job is mine. I am healed. I am happy. I am joyful.
Amazing.
So I have learned that. So that is how I pray every day. And then I have reminders that pop up on my phone, and those are the things that come up. 9 p.m. could come up and it will say, I'm the righteousness of God in Christ. So those are the things that I
Amazing.
do, and I have kept on to. Another thing I started 3 months ago, you talked about shutting your phone, is not to take my phone to the room. So when it's time for me to sleep, I put my phone on silent so that I don't even hear it ring from my bed. I put it on silent and I leave it in the living room upstairs. You know, so once I'm going into bed, the moment it's good night, I drop my phone. I don't take it into the room. And that way, for me, when I wake up in the morning, you know what I notice people tend to do is as soon as they wake up in the morning, they pick up their phone, you know. So for me, I'm able to get up in the morning and pray and do 1 or 2 things before I eventually pick my phone. I'll pick my phone and I'll just look at it as in the notifications on top.
Yeah.
I won't take it off silent. It's still on silent, you know. The ones that I consider important, I respond to it because I find out that these things could be very distractive.
Yes.
If I need to leave the house by 8, because I have sat on my phone for so long, I end up getting there really late, you know. So being able to discipline
Amazing.
myself.
These are very powerful. Very, very, very important. Yes, Adaora is going to share with us.
So I don't know if this is a habit, but it's embedded in my DNA, and I'm going to have to demonstrate it. So this is how I backslide out of drama, like this. Like you just see me, you know. I'm that person who will leave the WhatsApp group in a second, right? And it upsets everybody. I've upset a lot of people through that. But this is the thing. I curate my environment. I curate what, you know, affects my energy. Like, I'm very, very big on energy. Like, if I walk into a room, I mean, I was on a panel a few days ago, and I probably shouldn't say this on camera, but whatever. And, you know, there was some negative energy on the panel, and so for me it was like I find my energy balancing, right? So I pray about these things before I even get on stage. I love this panel. I'm feeling all the positive energy. But those things it's so important for you to really understand your energy, understand what drains you, understand how to conserve it, and understand how to put it into use, and that's so important. So for me, like I'm very, very big on that. Like I don't, once I see drama, once I smell it, I'm like, bye. Thumbs up, I'm out. And whether it's in your friendships, I'm not saying you have to leave every single person that brings negative energy, but you need to know not to engage and how to engage. Sometimes it's just nodding your head. Yeah. Sometimes it's K, but whatever you need to do to protect that. And on social media, social media is big. Yes. You will have trolls, you will have people who will say stuff. Yeah. And sometimes even out of the goodness of their hearts, which is like, that's where their heart is. But, you have to know when to just not engage. The second thing for me is I'm a big listener. I like to listen. So I don't really go into conversations just thinking about what to say next. Like, I've listened to all their stories. I think it's amazing. I think that, building that habit where you can consciously listen to people when they're talking will actually allow you to progress faster in life. Because one, you build really good relationships, right? Because once you can connect to people, because you're actually observing and listening to them, it allows you to progress in your relationships. And then it also allows with like business and with everything else you're doing is you can listen to the consumer, you can listen to what people want, and you know how to tailor what it is that you're creating to reach these people. So please listen. I know that we are in an era of not listening. We're in an era of everybody wanting to talk and everybody wanting to be heard, and you sometimes have to just consciously say to yourself, what, here I'm just going to be quiet like a fly on the wall, and I'm actually going to be consciously listening, because otherwise you leave here and you won't remember anything that any of us have said. You may have just been distracted and your mind is somewhere else. Show up and show up properly, show up fully and listen.
Be present. Thank you so much. I'm actually learning as well. Listening is a skill that we all need, every one of us, because even in relationship, in your marriage, with your customers, like I wrote the book and I realized a lot of parents said, Emem, I don't have time to read it or use it because it's more like a book you use to train your family, yourself. It has all the goals. And then someone requested I should help them with their domestic workers. And I'm like, did I tell my husband I'm going to do a training for them? He said, domestic workers training. And I'm like, yes. He was like, okay, how was that going to be? I said, don't worry, to be nice. And because I listened to what people wanted. Most parents don't have time, they're so busy. And then we did the first training, it was amazing. We had cooking, we had coaching, we had everything. We had a bank manager come talk about time management, because we need to listen. You might be selling your hair now, you have a store on Instagram. Some people don't want to come out, they don't even want to make a call. You can call them, can I bring the hair to your office? And you start delivering the hair to their offices, whatever business that you may be doing. So we're moving on to the next question. And I hope you're taking notes from what they're saying. It's not every time you see them, so take all the notes and then make sure you practice them. It is one thing to find a way of, I can't see what you're, right, is it loving or loving? I can't really see, I can't, it's solving, yeah. Loving a job, okay. Okay, it is one thing to find a way of loving a job you hate. It is another thing to feel devalued and unappreciated for the job you do. I work around the clock and I'm sleep deprived most of the time. I rarely have time for other things that matter to me the most. I feel stuck. What do I do?
I would
Folusho,
take
yes,
that, please.
Yeah.
Okay, one of my favorite sayings is that you are not a tree, which means that you can move. I think ultimately, too many of us tie our self-esteem to our jobs. Tie our self-esteem to our husbands, our self-esteem to our children.
Yeah.
You cannot find everything that you want in a job. You cannot be in a job and think that because you are doing a fantastic job, you would always get the right accolades and all that. I think that ultimately, if you can see your life as more than your career, so you'd have to pretty much like look at yourself and maybe like draw like a circle and do all the different quadrants and say, I'm this. So maybe you are a banker. I'm a banker. I'm also this. I'm also that. I'm also this. I'm passionate about this. when you are able to see that your self-esteem is not tied to your 9 to 5, I think it really brings a lot of liberation. I find that so many of us are, like, our jobs have become like, they're like a noose, around your neck, like, it's like hanging and pulling you, almost like you're like a slave. You're not enslaved to your job. Do you understand? For you, you sound really frustrated. I would leave the job, like, unless the money is very, very good and you know that you need the money, then you have to have a plan, which is that you have to look for another job. But I don't think that you should stay in a situation that you feel so bad in because you just have to be there, or you think that you have to be there, because we also don't really think. So you have to ask yourself, okay, what am I benefiting from this job? Or have you even finished benefiting? So for instance, if you are in the same role for 5 years or more, the same role, I'm sorry, you have to move. For me, I can never understand how somebody can tell me I've been working the same job, the same thing every day for 10 years.
Not possible.
Really? Like every single day, so I can talk to you as well after, but honestly, you're not a tree, baby girl. You can move. Yeah.
Let me add to that. I think it's simple. If you don't like your job, just quit. Because the thing is, if you go to work with that negative energy, you will not be productive.
Yes.
You will end up even frustrating your boss. So why are you just there? If you don't like it, then quit.
Yeah, true. That's true. Very, very important. And if you're not happy, you're not going to be the best. You're not going to grow. You're not going to add any value.
Sorry, let me just quickly add to that, because I agree with that to a certain extent, because I think sometimes as well, our perspective on the jobs are wrong. So now that I look back at the job I hated, I think my perspective was just all wrong. I kept seeing it from me, I hate, I didn't look at what I could add beyond my role and what I could learn beyond my role as well. I was very much in my feelings, about hating the job. So I think sometimes as well, and that's why I'm happy to talk to you after, because it might also be your perspective. Sometimes a change in perspective changes everything. You literally find that, oh my goodness, I have been looking at things from a completely wrong point of view. Yeah.
That's very true. That's very true. Thank you so much. Thank you, Eno. Thank you, Adaora. We're going to the next question, please. What do you do when you know you are putting in your best in your education, jobs, etc., but still looks like you've not done enough? You're putting in so much into your job, into your education, but it still looks like you've not done enough. What do you do?
It's difficult. I said it's difficult without full context.
Yes,
because,
yeah.
Because
maybe you can send another paper explaining. Would you like to talk with the microphone?
Would you like to explain, give a bit more?
What do you do? The person who wrote this question, would they like to speak up? What do you do when you know you are putting in your best?
Sorry, let me just quickly say something else. Sorry, I'm a bit extra. Whenever I attend conferences that have men and women, when it comes to questions, men rush to the mic. They ask questions. Why don't we like to come to the microphone and ask questions? Why are we men here? Nobody here is bigger than it. Let's come and ask our questions. I feel like we need to learn. Part of what you need to learn as you are growing is to be bold. Take the microphone and ask your question. This is a bit of an open. I think it's quite open.
That's why I like Wimbies, because people come out and really ask.
Yeah, because if you don't ask your question, nobody's going to help you do what you are doing.
Exactly. That's true. So, is the person here? Can come out, please.
There's someone there.
Yay! Is it you?
Okay, that's another question. Okay.
But she wants to ask herself.
Okay, if you can ask yourself. Do you have a microphone there?
Good day. I'm kind of nervous.
Yeah. Good day.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's really an honor to be here. A quick one. My question is to, sorry, I just forgot her name. Okay, Mrs. No, I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm an entrepreneur. I started entrepreneurship very, very young when I was in school, and it has been a very, it's been a journey. My question here is that I have a job, but I'm also doing my business, but it's quite challenging. And I've been very scared to take a loan. I've been having opportunities to take a loan. My fear of taking a loan is the fact that I'm scared I might not manage it well, and I'm also scared of being put under pressure to pay back the loan. So what would be your advice? What do I need to do first before taking a loan, or should I just back out from taking any form of loan? Thank you.
I think the first thing I'll say is you need to deal with the fear. You know, the Bible says fear is torment. So once you're afraid and afraid and afraid, I mean, you should ask yourself, what will I do if I wasn't afraid? So you need to deal with the fear. Then did you say you need to take a loan? I didn't get that.
Loan for her business, the loan.
Why do you want to take a loan for the business? You also should ask yourself, can I start small and grow? Because I remember years ago when I wanted to start, by the time I had put together all the things that I needed, as at then I needed a startup capital of about 6 million. I had never worked before I went into business, so I didn't even have 50,000 naira, you know, and the next person for me to ask was my father, and he said to me, you've never even counted 50,000 and you want me to give you 6 million. So at that point, that rejection made me think, how can I go about this thing? So I started to market my service. I started to market the service that I had, and then the job came, and you know, I started small, bit by bit, you know. So you need to ask yourself, do you really need to take that loan? Because if you take a loan and you can't pay back, you know that's problem. The banks are not, or whoever it is not going to understand that you cannot pay back the loan. So you should ask yourself that, do I really need to take a loan? Also, did you quitting your job for the business? Well, yes. I mean, I'm a bit, I'm hard, you know, so I think that if you quit your job, you know, you would focus on the business, knowing fully well that, that's what I think, knowing fully well that if money didn't come, you would not be able to eat, so you put in more effort into the job, into the business you want to do.
Amazing, thank you. Thank you. So we have more questions. Can we just shuffle it? One from the crowd and one from here. Is that okay? Please. So we will rush through this one now. Thank you so much for this platform. It is Mr. and thank you for the question is for Eno. Were there times at the beginning of your business where you never made any profit and you had to borrow or use your personal money to pay your staff? If yes, how were you able to pull through to the next and higher level?
There were so many times like it's a business. I mean, there were so many times like that. I also, back to the loan. I remember when I would take an overdraft from the bank because I wanted to pay salaries, which was a massive money mistake, you know. So one day I was able to put myself together and I had to send people away, you know. So, fantastic. And you know, it's a business. There will always be challenges. Even yesterday, I mean, there's always going to be challenges.
You have to make decisions on the move. And the next question is for Folusho. Ma'am, I would like recommendation on books to start with, and how many books can I say is ideal for someone like me who does not like reading, and what to start reading after this conference?
Okay. Okay. It would be good to know like what you do, like what your interests are and all that. But I would say a book that I read that I felt was completely amazing and helped me accept myself for who I am. It's called Why You Act the Way You Do by Tim LaHaye. That book was like freedom for me. You know, I feel like prior to reading that book, there were weaknesses I had that I was like,
the mic.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Prior to reading that book, there were things about myself that I didn't accept as this is me. But the book it's such a good book because it talks about, you know, different personality types and your strengths and your weaknesses. I'm very big on personality types. I think it's so good to just know yourself and own yourself, because you are able to work on your weaknesses when you accept them. So a really good book to start with, I think, is Why You Act the Way You Do by Tim LaHaye. I can speak to you after as well so that you can tell me what your interests are and all that, and we can talk about maybe books that will be based on that. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. I hope you got the title of the book. So we're going to go into the audience. If you have a question in there, you can either come out and get the microphone, please.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My question is to Adaora. So you said a while back that you actually just know when to walk out, right? So how do you get...
Slide back,
yes.
You know.
Yes, so because sometimes for me, I think when I'm around a lot of negativity, it just makes me look very redundant. So, but the thing is, I want to ask you, at what point do you know when to slide back? Because people get when you're trying to slide back, people feel, oh, she's being proud, she's trying to
Yeah,
back
well
out.
done,
She
exactly.
doesn't want to involve herself. Do you understand? Which can be sometimes an issue because you're trying to look at these things that, oh, I don't want people to say, I don't want people not to say, and you're actually in that situation, you're not functioning anymore. So how do you just make that decision that, you know what, I just need to slide back?
So you know how like on social media there's that popular saying about you are not jollof rice. You are not jollof rice. Everybody's not gonna like what you say or what you do or what works for you, but you need to know what works for you. And I think that for me, some of the stuff I'm saying and some of the stuff that the other ladies are also saying seems like you will just learn this thing overnight, but it really isn't. It's a journey.
Yeah.
And it's a journey of self-awareness. It's a journey of experience. It's a journey of also getting to a point where you understand your value and nobody can take that away from you.
Yeah.
And yes, people might see it as you being arrogant, and I don't really care. I really don't. I love people, and I always feel like if you cannot see that and you cannot feel that from my energy, right, then I don't owe you that explanation. How do I know when to slide out or when to walk out of relationships? I think for me, one is value. So again, knowing like what is the, like, are you getting any sort of value whatsoever, from this scenario? So whether it's a business relationship, whether it's a friendship, whatever it is, it's like, are you getting any sort of value? You're giving, if you could keep giving, but the question is, at some point you have to ask yourself, I am a big believer in giving, that relationships and whether it's business or whatever, is about giving. But it's also about, knowing whether there's some form of appreciation. That's so important. And I think that the other thing for me is, again, when I start to realize that it's making me a different person, because that can happen a lot. I remember being in a business relationship once where, it was on a project, where I was becoming somebody else just to be able to, have fights with the person that I was working with. It's like you now start to, because this person is so negative and so boisterous and so has a challenger personality, like Folusho said, please understand personalities and how to manage them. Because you're getting that vibe, right? You almost now have an out-of-body experience where you start to do the same thing. So they shout you till you raise your own voice. They say this, you say the same thing. They curse, you curse back, and you start to become a different person, right? So once you realize that, this is changing my identity. This is not who I am. This is not for me. Like, this is, messing with my energy too much, and this is not even valuable to me. So why am I engaging in it in the first place? And trust me, sometimes, you see, when we talk about gossip, for instance, let me go into gossip because stereotypically women gossip more. But, when we talk about gossip, people will say, but I'm not a gossip, so they're not talking to me. But if you listen to gossip, you're a gossiper. Do you know why? Because here's the thing, that your friend that calls you, and every time they call you, you have like a 1-hour conversation where they're just gisting you and gisting you and gisting you about all the negative problems that are happening in everybody's house. Whether you like it or not, it is seeping into your subconscious. It's messing with you, right? And when I talk about even backsliding, it's also with social media. I remember like about 3-4 years ago, I blocked a blog. I blocked it across all my social, I blocked it so I can't see it, right? And at the time, it was interesting for news. You just see it and you think, what's the big deal? But the truth is, I realized that it was messing with my energy, and not because of the, you wake up and then you see, this person got a car hit them and they were crushed. You see the image, you're just scrolling through, you don't think so deeply about it. You see the next post is like, this man was beating his wife. And then you're just going, maybe you're not even really engrossed in reading it, but the fact that it is crossing you every day, it is building a house in your heart and in your mind, whether you like it or not. It's just the way we are as human beings. We're wired that way. So you have to be deliberate about taking those things and tossing them out because they don't belong in your space, right? And so that's, at that point, it becomes a thing. Like you build it, it becomes a habit, essentially. You've built it so much that And here's the thing, you can't always, remember what I said before, that you cannot always run away from negative people, because sometimes negative people can be your mother. That's the truth, you know, they can be your mom, they can be your dad, they can be your brother, you never know, like that's the truth, you know, so you can't always say, I'll cut off everybody. And so in those kind of situations, again, you have to protect your response to those things. So you now have to get to a point where you're like, how am I responding to this? And if I cannot take this for 5 minutes, like I'm done. Like don't continue the argument. It's not worth your mind space.
Fantastic. This is so important. Because as women, we go through different challenges. You know what happens when women gather together at the office or in the home. You're relating with your in-laws. You have challenges with your friends. So you have to be able to manage, you have to be able to know how to manage your emotions and know your values, and then you'll have a peaceful life. Without knowing all those things, you're going to have challenges, people. The question is for Folusho, please. Some women can't thrive as much as they want because they have to be the breadwinner of their homes. Any advice for women who are breadwinners of their homes? So Folusho.
Okay, so is it a breadwinner because, like, is it a single mother? Is it that? So there's no two income, as in the husband is not bringing any income. Okay. As a breadwinner, so when you say thrive as much as you want, what does that mean? Okay, so is it that the husband is going through a season where he's not working? Is he looking for a job? I just need to understand, like, is it that he doesn't work ever? Is it that, unfortunately, maybe the husband just doesn't work? Or is it is it that he's looking for a job, it's just a season?
Can you address both situations?
Do you understand? Okay.
There might be people with both.
Fair enough. All right, so I think that if you are the breadwinner of your home, and there's actually a lot more women than we realize that are breadwinners in their homes, and I think even in the older generation, there was a lot of them. I think that you just have to be a master planner. I think that when it comes to money management, it is an area that a lot of us women, and I'm one of you, have issues with. And I'm very, very big on going to anything that teaches how to manage money. And there's a lot of free conferences. In fact, this Saturday, there's a free conference on money management by Muturayo. I don't know if you know her. Yes, this weekend, look out for it on Instagram. I think it's called the Money Code or something, and it's free. I think learning how to manage money is a skill. And I have seen a lot of older women, even women that were market women, send their children to school abroad because they learned the skill of managing money. I think the problem is that a lot of times when we are the sole breadwinner, sometimes it might be a feeling of despair. Why me? Why is this my life? I think if you can change your mindset from whatever your reasons, because I'm not even sure what the circumstances behind you being the sole breadwinner is. If you're a single mother, obviously it's a completely different story. That one, you have to learn how to manage your money really well and just plan for you and your child. I have a lot of friends that are single mothers, and sometimes their children even have better experiences than mine because they are really focused women who are planning their money accordingly, and they're not messing around doing random things. If it is that your husband is not working in the season, encourage him. Help him as he's looking for a job. If you find any job openings, let him know. I have friends who have assisted their husband by just saying to a random person, oh, my husband is looking for a job, and it's the next connection. If it is that the husband is just not providing, as in, husband is just not doing anything and you have to do everything, I think that there's a few things that you have to do. If you are a woman of faith, you're behind God to pray really hard, because that is not a good situation to be in. But even beyond that, if you have children, you cannot use that circumstance to make your children suffer. So you have to plan. So even the little luxuries that you enjoy, I'm sure all of us here can tell you about things that we've had to cut out of our lives in different seasons for us to have a better enjoyment for something else in the future. So as they always say, don't eat your seed. If you know that you have 2 children and you have to be the breadwinner and your husband is also there but he's not doing anything, you need to really ask yourself the really hard questions. Ask yourself, okay, how much am I earning every month? Do I even need to get a better job? Do I even need to ask for a raise on my job? I realized the other day that women, like I said earlier, are not as bold as men. That's just the truth. Sometimes we need to go and ask our managers for a raise. Do you understand? You've been here for a while, you're doing a really good job. The other people around you might be asking and you are not even asking. If you've not gotten promoted in a while and you're doing a good job, you need to go and ask, please, I need to have a promotion. Sometimes the things that we don't ask for don't come to us, not because they're not available, but because we actually do not ask. So with my current job, I remember I was given, I shouldn't say this story. No, never mind. I'm not going to say that story. It's a private story. I shouldn't have said my current job. But the point is that sometimes there are actually things available, but when you don't ask, they don't give you. It's not because it's not there. It's because you are not asking, because everybody is trying to maximize their profits. And if you take a level 1 job when you are really level 3 level, but because you are feeling like, let me just take this job, and you don't ask and say, no, can I have more? They will not give you more. So for you, I would say, ask on your job if you can get a raise. Figure out exactly what you are spending your money on every single month, on your children, on your home, all that, and figure out areas that you can cut. And please learn how to manage money. I think that it's very, very important as women that we learn how to be very good custodians of money, because sometimes we need to stretch money further than the money can even be stretched, but we just find a way to stretch it anyway.
So we have a lot of questions. We're going to rush through now. The next one is, hello Ma, thanks for sharing your wealth of knowledge. This is for Adaora. Please Ma, Folusho, Gbadamosi, what's the process of signing up for mentorship with you? Adaora and Folusho, what's the process of signing up for mentorship with both of you? Do you have a mentorship program?
I start. Okay, so I mean, I love this question because I actually talk about it quite often. I think that we've got the idea of mentorship wrong. I believe like there are people who I would consider my mentors that I've never met in my life, because like Folusho said, now with the internet, right, there's so much, you have so much access to the materials that these people produce, right? You have access to events that they're at, you have access to their books, you have access to whatever it is that they're putting out. So for me, there's no sign-up process to be a mentor. I think that I share a lot that if you actually wanted to genuinely learn from the stuff that I do, like you would see it on there. Other than that, I even on my social media handle, I've posted, I run a mentorship group called DMG, Dream Interpreters Mentorship Group, and you can check that out. It's at the Dream Interpreters. And that one, basically, we just take you through like 5 classes every 2 months. So we take you through like 5 classes that are, specific to that particular session, and you can sign up on there. It's really very cheap to do. I'll say that it's very affordable. But other than that, please just learn from what we put out.
All right, so yeah, similar to Adaora, I do not have like a structured personal mentorship program. The other thing that I've personally learned about mentorship, so the people that mentor me, that I have, gotten as official mentors, are not people that I see. I see them once and I say, I want you to mentor me, and then I ask them to mentor me, because I feel like that never works. It doesn't work if you haven't built some sort of rapport with the person. They will say they will mentor you, and you just will never get any mentorship because you don't have a relationship or any sort of rapport at all. Yeah. Those people that I personally have stalked, and there's a lot of them, I talk about it all the time. There are some people that, whenever I see women that are doing big things, their life is making sense, I stalk them anyhow, especially older women, because there's so much to learn from them. What I do is that I go to their events. They know me. Do you understand? As in, after a while, it becomes, oh, hi, Folusho, how are you? And then I can say, oh, ma, would you please mentor me? Or, I've been following you for a while. Like, we have something of a relationship because I have seen them in a few different places and we've established some sort of a rapport. I think it's strange, that's the only word I can use for it, to mentor somebody that you just met for the very first time as a real deep mentorship. If it is like a business mentorship or like a program like what Adaora just mentioned, Wimbiz also has a mentorship program. If it's those kinds of mentorships, it's different because they are very specific. Maybe it's for your business, maybe it's for something, your career at that moment. But if it's like the general mentorship of, I want to learn from you different areas of your life and all that, I think it's better for you to find a way to learn from that person. Maybe kind of go if you know they're going to be somewhere, go there and try and establish a relationship, ask for their number, send them a message every now and then, establish that rapport first, and then the person can then be asked to be your mentor.
Fantastic. The both spoke very well. You can buy their books, go to their Instagram pages. You can join Adaora's group. There's a mentorship group on our Instagram page. Find the page. I think it's a different page from our private page, but you'll find the link on our page. And also, you have to create a rapport with them, attend their events. This is for Folusho. Knowing technology is broad, how are you able to carve a niche for yourself in the technology industry? E.g., what certifications, what trainings?
Okay, so I think technology is all about solutions. And I think even at work, everything that we do is all about solutions. So for me, my everything I do with technology at work or anywhere has to do with just solving problems. Whatever business problem there is that technology can solve, which is really everything nowadays, is what we do. So I'm no longer on the level where I need to acquire a certain level of technical skills. I have teams that I work with that have those technical skills that get those things done. But one thing that I make sure that I constantly do is I'm constantly thinking solutions. So even if at work we're not looking at any initiative to solve this problem, if I see a problem and the technology can fix it, I will bring it up. And me and my team, we'll talk about it. We'll discover how to make it work. If anybody needs to go on training, we'll sign them up for the training and all that. I think technology is more of a, how do you solve problems with technology? In it of itself, technology is not a person or, it's an enabler. Do you understand? It provides solutions to problems. So our phones provide what? Solutions to communication problems so that we can communicate with each other. Social media, also communication problems. Every technology that you know of really is solving a problem. So for me, it's more of for you to get to a level where in technology you are in management or executive level, you have to be constantly thinking of problems and how to solve them, how to make people's lives easier using technology. So at work, what processes can you simplify? If it takes you guys 10 years to procure an item, how can you change 10 days as an example to 1 day? If it has to do with HR, how do you automate all your HR processes so that when people are going on leave, they're not filling form and, going around from managers, oh, uncle, can you please sign my document? I'm going on leave. How do you automate that, into a process that is sharp and easy? From my laptop, I'm able to do my leave process. I'm able to print out my pay slip. So for really every sector, every area of life, whether it's oil and gas, it's telecoms, it's insurance, it's banking, what problems can you solve using technology? Certifications, I think, depends. So, for instance, there's people on my team that we send for specific certifications based on their job and based on the kind of things that we're working on at the moment. I think that it's not as vague as the person is making it sound. It's something that's a bit more specific. Like, you have to say, okay, are you a database administrator as an example? So that we can now say, okay, you need to get certifications based on database administration. Are you a coder? Do you understand? Are you a systems person? I think it really depends on what area of technology you are looking at. And I can talk to you after as well for more information.
Thank you very much. We're going to just run through this one quickly. This is for Folusho as well. How do you cope with an employee who works 9 to 5 and also manages to make out time for your personal development? Like an employee that wants to create time for personal development, I guess. That's what it means. How do you cope, yes, with an employee who works 9 to 5 and also manages to make out time? Maybe she's talking about herself. But the way she wrote it wasn't very.
Okay. I think that everything about personal development begins and starts with you. Your time is your own. I think that if you do an audit of your time, you probably realize that you are wasting time on things that you are not even realizing that you are wasting time on. That's why I mentioned earlier about putting your phone on airplane mode sometimes and just disconnecting from data, WhatsApp, and all that stuff. If you want to be personally developed, trust me, you'll make the time. I had my second daughter about 5 years ago, and as soon as long story, I lost my dad, I had her, I got a job that I had to upskill for majorly in that time. I used to go for classes with my breast pump. During the breaks, they would take me to a room where I would express milk because I couldn't say that, oh, I have a newborn. I know I have this role. I'm not going to upskill. That's my excuse. You have to make the time. I was a nursing mother. I did not want to wake up early to go for any training, but I knew that I needed it in that period of my life. Do you understand? So it's really about you making the time based off of what you think is important to you. If you think that it's important for you to develop yourself personally, then you just have to make the time. If you even tell yourself an hour a day, so I've started doing this thing where with some of the online courses I take, I'll say, okay, I'm going to give myself maybe an hour a week or 2 hours a week, and I block it out on my calendar, and I put my phone on airplane mode in that time so that I'm not distracted from different things. So I'm sure that you can make the time if you are really committed to it.
So important because I've been planning to take a course on Udemy, and I haven't done that yet. So I just have to push myself, That's the next question here. For a business that started really, really small, how long do you possibly need to run the business before paying yourself salary and cashing out on profit? That's what I know. We already know.
I think there's no one size fits all. The different businesses have different structures, you know. So you would be able to tell from your own inflows, you know, how, and you know, at the beginning, you're not going to say, I'm going to earn 500 million. You know, you're going to start with something you know that your business can generate and can pay you comfortably, you know. And as the business grows, you increase your salaries. You know, so there's no one size fits all. You just determine it from your inflow.
Okay, so I'd like to add to that by saying that if you've got any friends that are accountants or finance people, maybe you should ask them to also help you look at your books. So if you cannot afford to get an accountant yet, I think that a lot of small businesses have not really spent the time and the energy that they need to really look at their numbers, like really have somebody help you dissect your numbers. If you can afford an accountant or maybe a part-time accountant, it's actually a good idea because you need to know what you are really making. You know, there are some times that you think that you are making money, and when you look at the figures, you're like, I'm actually not making any money at all. Even your pricing, you might need to even change your pricing model. But if you're not looking at your figures, you don't know. So I think it's very important that you make sure that you find an accountant, one that you can afford, maybe a part-time one, or if you have any friends within your network that you can do trade by barter with, you know, ask them to help you with your accounting, and you can help them with something else as well.
I agree. You can also check out Accounting Hub on Instagram. Her name is Choma. She's a very good accountant and she works with SMEs. I had to pay her as well to check my books, also to sort out your tax as a young business owner. And also for the trade and barter thing, I've actually experienced where people come to me for coaching, and then I also have ideas, and they also have services that they can offer me. So we will leverage on each other's talent or business ideas, or rather services, sorry. So what is the best way to approach a person to be your mentor? Yeah, they've answered that already. Okay, you can either buy their book, follow them on social media, read up about, build rapport with them. How do you finally find your purpose after asking people around, as you mentioned earlier? I think they've answered that, right? They've answered that, how to find your purpose. I think so. Sorry. How do you find it? Oh, the same question. Supposed to be, especially when they're around. Okay, let me just read it out. And how do you find your purpose? How are you sure about it? That is what you were supposed to do, or be, especially when those around you do not understand it or take it serious. I think your purpose is for you to accept. You're the main person to accept what you've been called to do. I know it can be very difficult when people don't accept your purpose. Maybe your husband or maybe your siblings, but you have to make up your mind, you know, and then make sure that you also ask a lot of questions about what it is that you want to do and the why you want to do it. Like Folusho said that earlier.
Okay, I think that when it comes to acceptance of purpose, okay, first of all, purpose is, at least for me, it's ever evolving. You know, it's not a, your life is a journey. Even your purpose is a journey. I feel like it evolves, at least for me, it has evolved, you know, as I've kept doing stuff, kept serving, kept working, kept just being my best at all the different things that I'm doing at the moment. When you say that somebody doesn't accept your purpose, it's likely that you are also saying to people, this is my purpose, and maybe other things that you're supposed to be doing, maybe you are dropping the ball on them, and they're just a bit irritated at you, like, okay, that's your bloody purpose, but I need you to get this stuff done. Like a marriage, you know, like maybe your husband comes to and tell you, my purpose is something, and you need him to do something. And you're looking at him like, okay, I'm happy for you and your purpose, but you need to do what you gotta do, you know? So I don't think that we should look at purpose as this thing of, once I found the thing that I know God made me for, I'm not doing anything else. Like Adaora said earlier, there are many things that you will not like that you have to do while becoming you and all that God has created you to be. So don't now go around saying to people, oh, hello, family, this is my purpose. And because this is my purpose, this thing you're asking me to do, I'm not going to do it. You know, you have to learn how to manage your relationship still. You have to learn how to even manage yourself. And most importantly, you have to learn because your journey is evolving. I mean, most of us here, I'm sure that we're all under the age of 50. Even people that are 50, 60, some of them are just finding what God made them, and they're still evolving. So I think it's really having an open mind and not, you know, choking people with whatever you think that your purpose is.
Adaora, do you want to say something about?
Okay, so the thing about purpose is like you don't actually find it, right? So it's not lost. Every single person was created for a purpose, and all it is that you need to just be in alignment with your purpose, right? So there's something that you were created for, right? And how do you find in quotes, that thing? How do you align with it, right? The way you align with it, I have a fork analogy that I usually use, right? So if you think about like a fork, the cutlery, right? If you take this fork out of the drawer, you can use it to eat, right? You can pick it up and you can use it to open a bottle, right? Or a bottle of soda or something. You can use that same fork. Some of us used to use it to open the padlock where they padlock your fridge when you're growing up. And some people use it and do tribal marks. You can use the fork in different ways. It has multi-purpose. But here's the thing. How does it know that it is a fork and that it can do these things? It's by people using it. And that's the part people don't like to hear. Is that people need to use you, literally, right? That's how you find out. And so you have to be comfortable knowing that, people, that's why I say your purpose, at the beginning, I say your purpose is not just about your why. We've got this thing wrong where we sell ourselves is just about our why. It's not. It's about your why and your who. So again, whose life is going to be impacted as a result of your existence on earth. So you need to understand, like, people, you have to be open to serving. You have to be open to giving. You have to be open to people actually using the skill sets and the gifts that you have. And it is in the process of doing that you start to understand that this is what I was built for. This is what I was actually made for. So please stop trying to find it and then stop mixing it up with passion, which is, again, we've had that conversation, so I won't go into it. But there's a difference between purpose and passion. So sometimes when people say, I'm finding my purpose, because this thing I'm doing is boring, so I'm just trying to find purpose. No, you're not really, that's not what you're actually finding. If you might be looking for something that you're passionate about. And sometimes what you're even passionate about may not be in line with your purpose. It may not be in tune with what you're actually created for. So allow yourself to get out of your comfort zone. Allow yourself to explore. Allow yourself to express, and then understand that it's going to evolve. Understand that you also have a purpose per season. So again, life works in seasons. So for each season, your purpose might be different. For some women, even, your purpose in a particular season is to just be in the family, right? To take care of your family. And that, it might be uncomfortable because you might see other women being so ambitious and doing stuff, but know that is your season, right? Sure. And then you might have another season where, you are able to express and be everywhere, and that's fine. But be very, very sensitive of those seasons so that you do not lose yourself in the season where you feel like you're not doing a lot. Because it's very easy to get, sidetracked by what you see other people doing. Know that all of us on this stage, we've had seasons. So what you see now, is an expression of our purpose in the season that we are in, but we've been somewhere, right?
Amazing. Put your hands together. We have just a few more questions, but I'm just going to add, just one more. Yeah. Okay, the lady, okay. Exactly. That's true.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
So first off, I want to appreciate Miss Ofodili. I want to tell her thank you for this opportunity. Please, can you all give her a round of applause?
2 hands together.
And second of all, I would like to encourage some of us here that cannot really connect with whatever they are saying. Like, you feel so out of place. I want to encourage you that one conference will not do everything. Maybe you still need to attend more and more. So don't feel discouraged. So my question is, how do you deal with self-doubt? Like, how do you deal with feeling not good enough? I work in a school, in a polytechnic, and sometimes I get opportunities to do 1 or 2 things, and I feel I'm not even qualified. I'm just a graduate. Why are you giving me this? Do you want me to mess up? And you still have to deliver. You still have to do it. Have you been in that position? I'm asking the 3 speakers. So how were you able to deal with such a situation? How were you able to deal with opportunities that you feel you are not good enough for, or you feel you are not qualified enough to do, and then you are being presented with it and you have to do it? Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that question. I think it is probably one of the most common questions that we experience as women, as human beings and all that. I've had many times like that in my life where I was put in a position that it's not even just that I felt, I knew I was not qualified for, you know what I mean? And it was a feeling of, oh my goodness, what is this opportunity? Like, why? But one thing I've learned from talking to a lot of people and just life is that if you've been given the opportunity, then somebody thinks that you can do it, right? So you have to first of all deal with you accepting that you can even do it. The other thing I've also learned is the power of relationships. For everything that you don't know, there's somebody in your circle that knows it. You need to ask people questions. For everything that I have not been able to do on my own, I have found people within my networks. I will ask on every group I'm on, please, who is good at, do you know who can help me with? I started to work in the oil and gas industry about 2 years ago. I had never worked in oil and gas before. I knew nothing about oil and gas except diesel and petrol. And I remember one of the first things that I knew I had to do was learn about the industry. So I wasn't in denial. I knew what I didn't know. I didn't know anything about the industry, zero. I'd never worked in oil and gas before. So I started looking for people that have been in the industry, and I started having chats with them. In fact, one day I spent like 3 hours with an older lady who has been in the industry for a long time, and she took me through upstream, downstream, midstream, all stream, free stream, right stream, left stream, and she explained everything to me in great detail. You know, she drew it for me, made notes for me, and from that experience, I realized that there's actually nothing that you want to learn that you cannot find somebody, if not your own friend. Your friend might have a friend. So I think, first of all, accept that if they chose you for it, you can do it. It goes to what she was saying about declarations. You need to give yourself props. You need to gas yourself up. Every morning when you wake up, say, I can do it. Give yourself specific declarations per season based off of what you are going through. There are some seasons in my life that my declarations have nothing to do with the previous season, because what I need for that season is just something completely different. So you need to encourage yourself daily that you can do it. You need to find people within your circle that can help you with whatever area it is that they have asked you to do that you do not have the skill for. And training. Training is very, very important. I paid for trainings personally that my company would not pay for to help me on my current job. Do you understand? You need to look for the trainings that would help you. Because you also have to understand that on this journey, every single thing that you're experiencing is for a bigger picture in the future. Whatever you are going through now, it's not just about now, about this current job. Maybe this skill is even for your next level. Maybe after doing this, you get some amazing promotion, and then you now realize that, oh my goodness, I wish I had taken that opportunity, because clearly God was preparing me, but I didn't take it because I thought I wasn't good enough. So please work on that first. You are good enough. That you got it means that somebody thinks that you can do it, so you are good enough. Yeah?
Okay, so I have a small personal story to share. So, first of all, so this is essentially imposter syndrome. And so I remember, I believe, I'm a firm believer in destiny, first of all. So I really believe that, we have destiny. And keeping that in mind, I remember when I was about 15, and I got chosen at the time. I was secondary school. I was just about to leave, and I got chosen to represent Nigeria at the GYLC program in the U.S. And I went to the United Nations in New York and D.C. and all of that stuff. And I wasn't top of my class. I wasn't a prefect. I went to Queen's College, by the way. I wasn't a prefect. I wasn't top of my class. I used to come maybe like 46th, 45th, something like that. But, I remember the teachers walking in and saying, giving me the letter and saying, you're representing Nigeria, you're going to be one of the scholars. And I said, wait, hold up. I opened it and I saw the parents of Adaora and Mbelu, and I was like, really? And it's interesting because for the longest while in my life, I just couldn't understand why I was picked. Right? Now, when I went into university and I started to see how that opportunity shaped and molded a lot of the leadership opportunities that I got when I went into university, because I was now like president of African Students Association, I was president of AAC, I was president of International Student Union. It was like I was getting all these opportunities, but it was based on that leadership opportunity that I got earlier that I felt that I wasn't qualified for. And the thing, and my life has literally been, and I'm sure it's the same with most people, is my life has literally been a collection of opportunities that I didn't think I was qualified for. So when I moved back to Nigeria in 2008 from university, I started a job as, I first started off as communications manager for the 2010 World Cup, right? And it was interesting because I got that opportunity. I was a kid pretty much. And then I became, project manager for Nigerian Idol, project manager for Nigeria's Got Talent. And I was 23, right? While I was doing all of this stuff. I had no experience in production, never done it before. But here's what I did differently. Like Folusho said, I learned. I made sure that I went out of my way to study my environment. I went out of my way to actually put in the effort, learn the skill set. So yes, I was project manager, but guess what? I was on the production floor. So I was learning what the production guys were doing. I was learning what the accounting guys were doing. I was learning what all our vendors were doing. So at some point, it allowed me to be comfortable in that position. But even as you grow and you evolve, you will never truly feel like you are qualified. Like, I don't even truly feel like I'm qualified to sit on this stage. To talk to everyone, because I don't know who's in the audience. That's the reality, and there are probably people in this audience that are way more qualified to talk about that. But you have to just understand that if you carry a message and you are, you're living your life on purpose, and your purpose takes you to these spaces. Your job is to show up. That's all. Your job is to show up and to allow everything else, allow the universe, allow God to actually work through you and to do what is meant to happen. So don't be afraid of that. Self-doubt is normal. I don't think anybody ever gets over that. I'll wrap this up by saying there was something that someone told me about 7 years ago that has always lived with me. And he said to me at the time, I had walked into a meeting with some of the guys who were like top CEOs of some of the banks, right, in Nigeria at the time. And I was so uncomfortable when I left because I was like, oh my God, I just spoke to all these guys. And I was really young, so what is it that they're gonna take out of what I shared? And someone said to me, he said, look, at the end of the day, always remember this. He said, and I'll paraphrase, but I'll also tell you why. He said, men are boys. He said, at the end of the day, men are boys. And I said, well, what does that mean? And he said, you see, every single one of those CEOs, when they walk out of that room and their mother calls them on the phone, they're going to say, Mommy, hi, Mommy, how are you, Mommy? So he said, so understand that the same way women are girls. So we're just all kids that grew up. And so if you start to humanize people and start to understand that all of this is actually a container, but we're literally the same spirits, and you're literally, I like to say I'm a spirit in a bottle. So this is just a container. Don't get intimidated by the container. Don't ever allow yourself to get intimidated by the container, because we're all learning, we're all growing, we're all children that are finding our way through this big world. So when you even start to think about global, you might be intimidated by local. When you start to think about global, there's not much that really differentiates you from some of the global players, other than mindset, other than the understanding of abundance and not coming from a poverty mindset. The understanding of manifesting things, the understanding that, look, I can do this and I can be this. Once you break through that mold in your head, that wall, the world just becomes yours. The world is open to you.
Amazing. Put your hands together again. So we have another question here. Folusho, please, how can I balance being a mentor to people who admire me and still maintain my privacy on social media?
Okay, I don't think that being a mentor has anything to do with social media, so I'm a bit confused. But if you're saying that you want to mentor people that you don't want is it that you don't want them to follow you on your social media page, then have a private page. I think that if you are by nature a private person and you don't want people in your personal business, then I think that's really, really, really fine. Mentorship for me really should be, in the best sense, should be one-on-one. So if you're mentoring people one-on-one, you are seeing them over time as well, as you guys, talk and gist. Things will come out, but I don't think that you need to put all your business on your social media page. I think how you choose to manage your social media page is entirely up to you, and you can have a private page. But I know people that have private and public pages. They have both because they want to post their children, but they don't want their children posted on their public page, so they have both. So I think it's really entirely up to you how you want to manage it.
Thank you. Please, can you help talk more about how to maintain a mentor-mentee relationship? Spoken about it. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that a mentor-mentee relationship is ultimately about both of you giving to each other and also taking. So what I find is that a lot of people want people to mentor them, but they just want to take. The people that mentor me, any opportunity I have to help them, to assist them on anything, I'm there for them. I cannot, my mentor cannot say that she needs something that I know I can do and I will not do it. I make sure that I am as valuable to her as she is to me, so that she also understands that this is actually a loving relationship that's just beyond me wanting to learn from her. So I think mentor-mentee relationships they are essential to us being progressive and making it to the next level. But it's also important that as a mentee, if that's the angle of your question, that you are not just taking that any opportunity that you have to help, to give, to serve, do anything at all, that you make yourself available for that.
Thank you very much. This last question, they've already answered this question. How do you finally find your purpose after asking people around you, as you mentioned earlier? Adaora has already finished purpose. Like if you leave this conference and you're still struggling with purpose, please just know that it's your fault, because you have said everything that needs to be said about purpose. I would add just one thing before we round up this session. I used to run a fashion business in Victoria Island. I had an office in Murakonla, and then my mom, people would come to the office, they'll visit me at my store, and I noticed that a lot of people came to me for project management because I was already a project manager, but I never used the certification. But I just noticed I could do so many things. People want to do renovation, they'll call me. People want to do corporate event, Emem, come and do this, and I'll do it, and I'll still come back to my shell running the business. And and then by the side, I was also doing a lot of counseling and praying for people on the phone. People call from England. Back then, America, we'll talk. And then one day, my younger sister said, Auntie Emem. She calls me Auntie Emem. She said, Auntie Emem, this has got to stop. You can't just be doing all these things. Go and find out somewhere you can learn a skill that will help you put this counseling thing into something. That you can't be spending 2 hours with people on the phone, wasting your time. That there's something there. And I know my mom told me one day, when I was still in the fashion business, she said, my daughter, this is your gift. You have to have an office. I said, me, God forbid. People must not know. I'm comfortable. How many things should I now do? Oh, no. They don't, just a few people that know, and it's okay. Just few people know that I can do this thing. It's fine. It's not a service. It's not anything. I just love it. And that was how I continued. Then one day I started getting worried. I went on alison.com, Coursera, looking for courses to do, free courses on psychology or whatever. I thought I had to go back to school. I thought there was a problem that I wasn't accepting what people were obviously seeing. And then today, I didn't even hear about life coaching back then, because life coaching wasn't common or popular in Nigeria. So I didn't even know I could just do like what Folusho said. You don't have to go back to school, spend 1 whole year to do a course in psychology or whatever. I just became a life coach within 7 days, and it's a journey. I didn't just become a life coach overnight and then started practicing. I went through 50 hours. You have to do the free 50 hours. That means for you to even become whatever you want to become, you have to serve. So we served a lot of people for free before we started charging and all of that, and started getting invitation to speak at events. So, but from being a fashion designer and a project manager, and now the project management has an expression where we do media projects, and the life coaching has an expression separately. And I have a ministry now where we do the spiritual part, where we host event monthly, where we pray for people. So I'm able to really, really now accept myself, not feel uncomfortable that I can do all these things, because it's not really me, it's just God's grace. So be comfortable with who you are and don't doubt yourself. Thank you. Thank you. And I think is a wrap for this session.